have to hear the punchline. In any case, we think that our actions warrant something else, but they do not. So we can never rely on our actions. We can never say, my actions are like this, my actions are like that, I've been doing like this for this many years. No, I say, Allah, you have given me the ability to do this. Just as you have given me the ability, you grant me the reward for it as well. So there's another line from another book like this. And he says, من علامة الاعتماد على العمل عدم الرجاء عند وجود الزلل. Right? Because we know that we cannot rely on our actions. So what is the benchmark for knowing if I'm relying on my actions or not? Because we know we cannot rely on them. How do I know if I'm relying on them or not? Because, mashallah, I prayed 4 rakats nafil before Asr. Or I prayed Asr Salah. Alhamdulillah, I did it. Right? I'm not in denial that I didn't do it. But how do I know that I am not relying on this action? Right? So this is again a subtle point. Right? So now you do it, you understand if you've been relying on your actions for this entire, by when you don't have it. الأشياء تعرف بأضدادها. So there's a very famous proverb that things are noticed or recognized to their opposite. If you only had day, you would never recognize what night is. If you only had day, you would never know the absence of day. Like, it doesn't even make sense. So now when we lose our action, when we don't have the action, right? I've been praying for my tahajjud for so many years. The night I miss it, what is my reaction? I say, oh, everything's down the drain. That's it. I'm done for. Why I committed this sin. That's it. Straight to hell. There's nothing else. That's my only thing left. What happened? Who created the action? Who gave you the permission to do it? It was Allah. Right? Again, now the adab is Allah, I missed it, give me the tawfiq, don't take it away from me, etc., etc. But the point is, when the action was lost, how did we react? Did we react saying that, oh, there you go, that's it? Or say, subhanallah, I messed up, inshallah tomorrow. Right? There's so much hope for us. And then I'll end this line with one more story. There's a famous person in the past, and he was a person who used to pray salah in the first saf for years. One day, he got on the second saf. I said, oh my God, what are people going to say? I'm always first saf guy. Today I got second saf. What happened? He realized that this whole time my whole amal was not looking at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or how is he going to react. It was how will people react, number one. But number two is saying that I messed up. Yes, of course. Did you not get the virtue of getting first off? Of course. But he was trying. And he has a track record with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he does this. Right? So again, so the point is, our actions, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not need. We need our actions. And we don't need our actions because it warrants something. We need our action because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expects it from us. And the more we do it, inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, هَلْ جَزَاءُ الْإِحْسَانِ إِلَّا الْإِحْسَانِ. The only reward for excelling is excellence. Right? So now we try to excel. Why? For Allah's sake. That inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give it. Not because He needs to, but because He wants to. And that is His promise. So that was, again, read it one more time. مَثَلُ الَّذِي يَدْعُو بِغَيْرِ عَمَلٍ كَمَثَلِ الَّذِي يَرْمِي بِغَيْرِ وَتَرٍ. The example of the one who supplicates without any actions is like the one who throws or shoots an arrow without a bowstring. Technique is called a drawstring, so we'll just keep it with a drawstring. The next is, what time do we stop actually? Because I know we have some time for dhikr and then dua. I want to double check. Okay, I guess we'll just keep going till adhan happens. The next section, righteousness of your household. This is a very short section. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 lines essentially. But they revolve around one story here. The story is in the Quran. This is the story of Musa alayhi salam and Khidr. Is it Khidr or Khidr? Both are there. Both ways of reading it. In any case, Musa alayhi salam and Khidr, they go, and I think we know roughly the story. The first trial, essentially, the first arc in the story is they go, they ride on the boat, he breaks the boat, etc. The second one is he comes and he kills the kid, the child. And the third one is comes and out of nowhere he builds the wall. And then we know that essentially he built the wall because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded him. Why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala command him to build that wall? Is because وَكَانَ أَبُوهُمَا صَالِحًا. That is, that their parents were pious. So this is what it comes about. Righteousness of a household. It says, حُفِظَ بِصَلَاحِ أَبِيهِمَا وَلَمْ يَذْكُرْ عَنْهُمَا صَلَاحًا. SubhanAllah. That in this story, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is highlighting whose piety? The kids' piety? He didn't even mention their piety. Good kids, bad kids. Bad kids now are going to have a better future, or the opposite. It's not even relevant to the story of what the type of kids they were. Whether boy, girl, anything, does not matter. The only thing that's relevant for this entire story is that their forefathers were, their parents were pious people. And then Imam Qurtubi, rahimahullah, mentions that it wasn't the first line of parents, it wasn't the kids' parents, rather it was 7 generations up of piety, and that has long-lasting impacts. So the point is, we want to have righteousness in our household, for our family, for our kids, for our spouse, etc. The first thing that we need to do is ourselves become pious. We can't say, I'm going to live my life how I live my life, and then I want my kids to be pious. And then, bismillah, they'll take care of it. Jannah, inshallah, you make dua for me, you become hafiz, you get me into Jannah. I'm going to still be on my way. People do that. The hadith is, Man batta'a bihi amaluhu lam yusri' bihi nasabuhu. The person whose actions hold him back, his lineage will never push him forward. Yes, if you want to be technical, it has a sort of, in finance, you have like beta, right? Like if it's higher, then it's like a little change is going to have a huge change, where something has like a lower beta, that change is not going to have that much of an effect. Whatever. Man batta'a bihi amaluhu, a person whose actions will hold him back, his lineage will never push him forward. But if his actions are good, will his lineage take him ahead? Yes, of course. It can help. And this happens for actual family, but also your associates. Who are you connected to spiritually? Who are you connected to academically? Like, I am from this. I am from this masjid, and all the people in this masjid are pious, therefore I'm pious. Right? Or I have sanad in hadith. All these people in the sanad are pious. Inshallah, I'll get some barakah and I'll enter Jannah. No, that never happens. وَلَا تَزِرُ وَازِرَةٌ وِزْرَ أُخْرَى. That one person's sins will never transfer to another person. Likewise, a person's good deeds, their sacrifice will not transfer. The reward will not transfer. Again, sadaqah jariyah, those types of stuff excluded. We're talking about all things constant. Right? Now a person says, what I do, my sins are between me and Allah. I was just in this discussion with some people are going through some marital problems, and then the girl married this guy under pretense that he's pious, and then finds out that he doesn't really pray Salah. So, you never asked me. Like, I assumed you prayed because you're, all these other reasons. But that's between me and Allah. That's between me and Allah. You have nothing to do with this. Why are you getting involved? Well, not much. She's your wife. But the point is it just between you and Allah? Yes, the thawab and the iqab, the punishment of it is only going to be on you, definitely. Only on me, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows to live righteous lives, right? But the consequence of that extends, we have externalities, right? You're doing all these things, but there's ramifications, right? So how does my salah, my tahajjud, my staying away from bad deeds and sin, how does that affect my children or my family? You take the example of a person who's an alcoholic. Okay? Is the family going to get sinned? Are the children going to get sinned for the father's alcoholism? No. But will they be adversely affected? Any sane person would say definitely. Right? A person smokes. Are the children going to get sinned for it? No. But are they going to get second-hand, third-hand, what's it called? Second-hand smoking? Exposure. Will they get exposure? Definitely they'll get exposure. Right? So like that, we can understand that scenario because it's a very apparent correlation between drinking, smoking, etc., and then this, or gambling, etc., because they're very outward things. But in that same vein, a person who does sins, yes, the reward and punishment is on the person. But the positive or the negative impact can last generations. Can definitely last generations, as we can see. And unfortunately, this happens in our community. That we want to live our life how we want to live our life. And then we want our kids to live a different life. Again, parents obviously want a better life. They want them to be better. That's in its place. But the issue is, I'm not going to rectify my situation. I'm just going to make sure you don't fall into it. So parents are listening to something bad, and so you don't listen. They're watching something bad, inappropriate, no, nothing like grotesque, but anything. And they say, okay, but you close your eyes, we can watch. If it's not good for the kid to watch, it's probably not good for you to watch either. Right? Just because you got desensitized to it doesn't make it any less impactful. Right? We tell our kids, you should be punctual on salah and, importance of praying in the masjid. We drop our kids off to Islamic school. Dhuhr time comes along, we'll just pray at home. Because we're busy people, we have stuff to take care of. You just threw everything down the drain. All your hard work, all your advice, all your dua, sending them to Islamic school, Islamic programs. Mashallah, the Imam was talking about this and that, and then they go home and the parents are like, yeah, Imam Sahib is a little bit hardcore, you have to be a bit balanced. In deen and dunya. Right? And then what ends up happening is when parents, or people in charge, now I don't want to say this, it's just parents, but parents are like the standard thing for responsibility, right? You don't expect a child to have responsibility for the parents or for the siblings, right? It's a parent's job. Just as generally when we talk about protecting or being in control of your phone, we say, oh, the youth, it's a problem of the youth. But in reality, it's a problem of everybody, right? But we focus on the youth because it's very apparent. You can see the relationship. So the same way when you're talking about taking care of the household and family, that burden is on the parents. So they say, let's say, so the environment has to be created. And as we see here, the actions of the parents, the piety of the parents, definitely have an impact. Again, as a Hifz teacher, I see, we take the kids out to a field trip. How they react to something is very telling of the culture of the household, right? You go to the zoo. We took the kids to the zoo last year. And of course, like every other place, they have music. And now what's the ruling of that? You can ask Mufti Mufti Manhaj at your candlelight reflections, inshallah, candle, or the post-Fajr adult talk. The adults can, I'm sorry, you probably can't join. One child puts his fingers in his ear and says, I can't astaghfir haram. And another kid, both are in hifz. Both are learning the same hadith, same Quran. Other kid starts dancing to the music. Right? Is it saying that the family is listening to music in the house? No. But what's saying is that the discussion, the reaction was never cultivated in the child. Right? And that definitely happens through talking about it. Number one, definitely. But then now, what time? I feel like I'm going to go over time. 7:30. So again, what time should I finish? In 5 minutes. So I think we get the point that we need to create a culture in our household of piety. And that's not something that's done passively. You look at these companies, right? You go to a strategic planning class or or a management class, right, you talk about culture, right? And the culture is not heavy-handed in the sense that, okay, everybody should be happy but go to work. If you're not happy, then something's wrong. No, you create the environment. Right, so the same thing in the household, it has to be actively developed. And I'll finish off. Haji Imdadullah rahimahullah, he mentions that there's three things for this. Number one is qawl, your statements, the words, the discussions you have, and just talking in the car, in the house, in dinner time. Just what are the discussions happening? Is it always just about basketball? Is it always about politics? What are the kids hearing you talk about with your friends, with your colleagues? Anywhere. Number two is your own action. And number three is your hal, your own internal piety has a direct impact. Just as we said, a person's sins has this external impact, just like that. A person's internal piety, it flows out of them. And then people are impacted by that. So, again, a lot of these things are, subhanAllah, so much that can be said. And that's what's so nice about these small things. You just sit there and you think about it for days. And then, inshallah, whatever comes to your mind, inshallah, that's beneficial. That maybe I should do this, maybe I shouldn't do that. And inshallah, consulting with the scholars and people who are specialized in this in this domain. And inshallah, many great things will happen for us and for our families and for our progeny and the ummah as a whole. Subhanallah, bihamdi, subhanakallah, bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. I'm sorry? So now everybody can, inshallah, make their way downstairs. And then we will have a dua, inshallah. Remote dua, inshallah. So, mashallah, everybody here's in itikaf. So, you guys are having all the good deeds. Best good deeds to do in Ramadan is to be in itikaf. So, inshallah, so the people who are not in itikaf will be piggybacking off of your good deeds, inshallah.